Hey, hey, what's up, game changers? Welcome to the stream. Hey, for those just joining us, I'm Joe Hill, and today we are going to do something quite a bit different. We're actually going to talk about, normally we talk about the things that we ought to be doing, right, in order to improve ourselves as leaders, in order to improve our team as effective agents across our system, in order to improve the organization, the system, all of the things. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about going against the grain, the things that you should do to become the absolute worst version of yourself. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Because it's time for spring cleaning. Spring is in the air, right? Last weekend, I actually just picked up a lot of stuff from Miss Etta, who is our beloved chocolate lab. This time of the year in Minnesota, the snow goes away, and got a lot of things to clean up. If you know what I mean, but we're gonna we're gonna transition from that into that was a terrible metaphor, wasn't it? Terrible metaphor. That's right. Today, I'm going to show you just the exact blueprint backed by a ton of science and research about how to absolutely just destroy your potential, your influence. Normally, I get up every single morning and talk about the things that I want to do with leaders and teams to magnify, to intensify, to amplify their potential. But today we're just going to throw a little curveball in all of this and just we're going to unpack precisely what will lead to your destruction as a leader, your influence as a leader, your followership as a leader. So buckle up, folks. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I promise you, it's going to be worth it. Okay, so give yourself some healthy perspective right now. We're going to start first. Uh, cheers to Olivia Newton-John. hmm Yeah, let's talk about physical. Let's talk about just physical destruction. Let's start with your physical body, your vehicle, your temple, right? You want to be the worst version of yourself. Here's the game plan. One, deprive yourself of sleep. Yep, it used to be my badge of honor. You slept when you're dead, right? Or just some of the stupid statements that we used to say. Um, or sleep is for lazy people. Here's the thing, the research is crazy clear. According to the National Sleep Foundation, consistently getting less than 6 hours destroys your cognitive function, boss. And I don't know of anything more that you're bringing to the game. It's not like you're working much with your hands. You're not out there as a skilled laborer, 8 to 10 hours a day. Your institution needs your brain. And your brain literally starts shutting down your executive functions if you don't have enough sleep. So, if you want to make terrible decisions, if you want to be irritable, if you want to just gain weight, okay, let's just talk straight. Skip your sleep. Stay up all night scrolling your social media, um, comparing yourself to everyone else's highlight reels. This is not about social media. It's about your sleep, boss. It's about your sleep. Here's the other one. Just sabotage your nutrition. Processed foods, the stuff that I see in your break rooms when I go to your break rooms to get my free coffee. Um, there's lots of treats in there. Processed foods, sugar, the things that you feel like you deserve at the end of your shift, right? A little bump in the evening. 2019 Harvard study showed that ultra processed foods, they increase your risk of early death by 14%. Folks, that's double digits, but that's not all. The foods literally disrupt your gut brain connection. For those of you who are into the gut brain stuff, it's a real deal and it's no joke. It causes inflammation that affects your mood, it affects your energy. So load up on all of those energy drinks, fast foods, right? The sugary coffee drinks. It's exactly the express lane to make you feel terrible. There's your PSA, but I'm not done. Just don't move. Just don't move. Avoid all movement, avoid all exercise. I don't have time to exercise. You have time to take the steps, don't you? Oh, I don't have time. You have time to stand at your desk instead of sitting's the new smoking, right? You've all heard that. So sit as much as possible, right? A sedentary lifestyle, it just increases all causes of mortality, upwards of 40% from my last peak. Your muscles atrophy, your cardiovascular system, it weakens, and your brain, it doesn't get what they call the BDNF, that brain derived neurotropic factor that exercise provides. So just stay on the couch, boss. Tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Okay. Listen to me. Your body is designed to move and it is designed to be refueled properly to recover. You're doing hard work. You got to recover. So when you sabotage these systems, everything else falls apart. Yep. And your worst self, just here I am when physical neglect is evident. Everything just goes downstream. Okay. You know that, but here's your nudge for the day. Happy Tuesday. Um, Robert Downey Jr. I don't know if you've ever studied his early career. We all know kind of what he turned out to be. Ba, ba, ba. I am Iron Man, right? Incredibly talented actor. Was heading to superstardom, right? 80s and the 90s. But what happened? Just physical destruction. Lots of substance abuse, to be quite honest with you. He wrecked his body. He just like indulged in all the stupid stuff. It's led to addictions and arrests and jail time and kind of a human interest story, right? Being practically unrehirable, right, in Hollywood because he physically destroyed himself. But the transformation after hitting that rock bottom, Downey committed to just his own physical recovery. He embraced sobriety. Proper nutrition became his new game, and he started to just get involved in the martial arts. Right, that training his physical transformation became the foundation for his mental and his emotional rebirth. The result, spoiler alert, I already shared it with you. He became Iron Man. Yeah, one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood's history and the centerpiece of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right? That comeback wasn't accidental. It was very, very intentional. It wasn't about his talent. It was about building a new foundation of physical wellness that allowed everything else to flourish. Yeah, we highlight Hollywood actors, but I'm highlighting you more today, boss. I think your calling for your community pays much higher impact than just the entertainment value of Iron Man. So I hope that you are taking this medicine, right? Think about this. How many of you are currently sacrificing sleep to succeed in your career? I'm shortcutting my sleep tonight so I can get this stuff done so I can maybe amplify my value to my people, my team, my career. That's maybe good for or okay for a season, but how many of you have actually made that your sentence? Like, it's kind of my life now, right? What's your go-to excuse for not prioritizing your physical health? What do you say? I don't have enough what? Time, money, margin. What is that excuse for you? And perhaps where could you start? right? If your physical habits were the only thing determining your effectiveness, would you still be on track? Mhm. Pretty honest questions. So, just a little bit of a commercial here. I need to ask because so many of the things that I'm talking about here today and actually this week with teams, it has to do with building just better better DNA. So as you think about your team, is it good? Is it average? Is it legendary? I want to have you join me this summer, this fall, for my exclusive keynote experience. It's called Decoding the DNA of Winning Teams, right? And that science of multiplying more of the same. It has to be something that's scalable. There are all sorts of folks that come in, swoop in, impart information, swoop out, and there's nothing that really sticks, right? In this groundbreaking, and it's based upon loads of research that I've pulled together, we'll uncover just the generic markers. There's actually 5 of them that teams consistently use to outperform their neighbors or their competition, right? I want to talk about how to clone higher performance, those behaviors across your entire organizations. And it's not just modeling the way, it's creating structures and systems that model the way. And I want to share that with you. I want to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of just that collective achievement. I'm calling it team intelligence, TQ. It's kind of cute. Love to share more of that with you. There's an early bird registration. It's open right now. So visit higherperformancegroup.com to secure your spot. Today, limited spaces, folks. So, hey, let's get back at it. So, physical destruction. How about ba, 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 emotional destruction? Okay. That's a thing as well. Let's talk about that emotional state, your internal environment, right? Here's a good way to wreck it rumination. You want to feel terrible? Just replay every single mistake that you made this week. And maybe you're even ruminating on the things that you wish were different from last week. Every failure, every embarrassing moment, just put it on loop in your mind. Mhm. Actually, research from Yale, I just pulled this up, shows this type of negative recursive thinking, right, activates your amygdala, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system. So you've got this alarm that every time you put something on loop that says, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, the brain goes into this alarm loop, keeping you in the fight or flight mode. And we just know, we know how that responds in leadership, right? Your cortisol stays elevated. It's all the bad stuff in your blood. Uh, Your prefrontal cortex, that decision making mode. There's only one thing you really need to do, boss, and to do it very, very well. You need to make great decisions. Okay. But you can't do that when you're ruminating on all of the bad decisions, perhaps, that you've made. I think there's a difference between errors and failures. Okay. I think it's important the language that we use. And an error is just a process gaffe, right? Something that you've done that was off mark. It was just off mark. Um, Failures, those are different. Failures are like things that didn't go well in unknown spaces. So if you're beating yourself up based upon things that, you're just kind of trial and erroring, you're just floating balloons to go, I'm going to try something here. And if it didn't work and you're beating yourself up and treating it like an error, yeah, like Grammarly, right? We all have perhaps Grammarly. That stuff edits those are errors that it finds. Okay. That's the difference between where the apostrophe ought to go and where I put it. That's an error to be corrected. Can ruminate about, I can't believe hyphenated that one. It shouldn't. Well being. I'm still trying to figure that one out. The word well being. Sometimes it says hyphen, other times it says no hyphen. Anyways, if you're beating yourself up around errors, that's one thing. But if you're beating yourself up around failures, create a culture that says that's not an error and that's totally okay because it's part of the learning process, right? So ruminating is a good way to just destroy your emotional well-being. The other one is just emotional suppression. This one's a huge one, and it kind of comes from my own primal root, right? There's studies out of Stanford showing that suppressing emotions, it actually requires tremendous cognitive resources as well. Again, what you're called to do, and you're stuffing that stuff, okay, not having a place to process it just drains your ability to think brilliantly and make brilliant decisions. It's like driving with kind of like the parking brake on your car, right? Can you imagine what kind of a smell that would be? Yeah, plus that emotion never disappears if you're stuffing it, right? It just goes underground and it shows up as just physical symptoms. It shows up as relational strife and disconnection and perhaps explosive outbursts and things that just get in the way of you being the leader that people need you to be. So stuff those feelings down. Yeah, if you want to be the worst version of yourself, keep stuffing those feelings down and just pretend you're fine. Yeah, use that term. Fine. I'm fine. Okay? When you're absolutely breaking inside. Do that. Do that to tear up your influence. One more comparison. The thief of joy, right? Continually just comparing yourself to all of the perfect people out there. Yeah, social comparison, it's killing us as an entire uh, s- global society right now. And that theory tells us that constantly measuring ourselves against other selves, it's a one-way ticket to misery, right? And now with social media and just the all that's involved in that, we're comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels. It's just, yeah, not good and a great way to tear yourself apart. 2018 study, the Journal of Science and Clinical Psychology found that limiting social media to 30 minutes per day actually significantly reduced loneliness and depression. So do the opposite, boss. Right? Spend way more than 30 minutes a day scrolling and doing the comparison shuffle and yeah, focusing on everyone else who seems to be doing much better than you. Yep. That emotional state, it's your control center. It's the control center of your life. When you poison it with ruminating and suppression and comparison, it guarantees that your worst self is going to show up every single day. And we've all worked for bad bosses, and employees talk about bad bosses at the dinner table. Um, Employees leave bad bosses, right? And employees leave bad bosses and bad cultures that the bosses create because of things that are just lined up to ill physical health, ill emotional health. So Michael Phelps, most decorated Olympian of all time, despite winning golds. I mean, and just living this standard that I don't think could ever be emulated in terms of just his physical ability, gifted by wow, at birth to just have the levers to do what he's done. But he fell into this deep depression after the 2012 Olympics. I don't know if you tracked that, but he was just emotionally destroying himself. He was isolating himself. Probably tabloids were finding him and snapping pictures. He was ruminating on past mistakes. And if you read about his childhood, he pushed himself, and he had coaches that pushed himself to the probably beyondo extremes, right? So he continued to compare himself to impossible standards, which is hard to believe because I think he, set impossible standards. It really got so bad that he contemplated suicide. I mean, the greatest swimmer of all time was contemplating taking his own life. All the gold medals and the world could ever even imagine, it couldn't fix his emotional state. Good news. Phelps made a crucial decision to focus on his emotional wellness. He began some therapy, started speaking openly about mental health and his own story, and developed practices to manage his emotions much better. It takes a skill set. It takes structures. It takes new systems. You don't just wake up and eat a bowl of Lucky Charms and go, "I think I'm ready to go." To no, he embraced vulnerability instead of suppressing his feelings, right? The result, not only did he return for his final Olympics in 2016 with more gold medals, but he became an absolute influence advocate for mental health and potential saving countless lives, right? Through his own story and his own openness about his struggles. So I would say Michael Phelps' greatest achievement, some would argue, all the medals. I don't think it was the medals, right? It's the emotional mastery that allowed him to find renewed purpose um, beyond the competition. I think that's where his greatest influence happens to be. So, how about you? Think about what emotions are you currently suppressing that might just be limiting your effectiveness? I know what it's like. I've played the CEO role where you have to just be bulletproof out there in front of everybody, and you have to be just emotionally flatlined. When the winds are picking up and the waves are splashing all over the place. But what are you stuffing? What are you suppressing that might be limiting your effectiveness? And where might you go to find a place to kind of release that and find your own liberation? Um, Yeah, and how many hours do you spend just comparing your life to others? And if your closest friends could see your actual internal emotional state right now, do you think they'd be surprised? Your closest friends and family. Do you think if it was just made real, put on the table, would they be surprised? Go ahead and hit in those comments. I'd love to see your honesty. So appreciate you hanging in there. Let's talk about the next one, and then we'll probably bring this thing in for a landing. Um, just your behavioral destruction. Okay. Things that behavior would say are getting in the way of your influence with others. First one, I struggle with this one myself. Procrastination. Yeah, just waiting until last minute. Some of us are actually, I do a lot of just behavioral science stuff with leaders, and some of us are wired to wait until the last minute to decide something. Um, and that can be a very, very good thing because you're getting last minute information. I'm not here to shame anything in the name of procrastination. But if you think about it, if you peel it back, it's that self sabotage, sometimes at its finest, where procrastination, it's not about laziness. Let me just frame that. It's about emotional regulation. Um, Actually, research from Carleton University shows that we procrastinate to avoid negative emotions, right? Because I just don't want to think about it right now. I'm too tired. I'm too tired, so I don't want to do the emotional work that whatever this issue or this initiative is calling from me right now. So I'm just going to put it in the parking lot with all the other things today, right? So if you want to live a life of regret and lots of missed opportunities, just keep pushing those important tasks. Just keep pushing them into the future. Mañana, not now. I don't have time for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm too tired for this. Right? Just keep pushing all of your most important stuff. There was a great book that says kiss your frogs. I don't know what the title was, but the concept or the principle was kiss your ugly frogs first. It's a great, I think it's a great metaphor to say, take on the tough tasks and get them done. Don't push them away, right? But you can choose to let procrastination, let that fear just win every time if you want to limit your influence as a leader. Second one is just learned helplessness, right? That psychological phenomenon, it was discovered by Martin Seligman. Um, it's when you conceive yourself to have zero control over your circumstances. So if you want to be incredibly miserable, tell yourself nothing matters anyways, or I can do absolutely nothing about this, or why even try? Right? This mindset, it literally changes your brain chemistry. It reduces the good stuff, not the cortisol. It reduces the dopamine, right? And the serotonin, the good chemicals in your blood, your motivation chemicals, and the happiness neurotransmitters. It zaps them when you move into this space that says, woe is me, lip right here. I'm pouting because nothing else matters anyways, and I have no control over me or this situation. Sometimes that's real. Sometimes just admitting and putting boundaries to say, I really can't control this, but I'm still in control of me, right? I haven't read the whole thing, just little snippets from Let Them book, the green book out there that everybody seems to be reading these days. I'm not promoting the book, but I think it's something that has some really good principles in them, right? Um, there's a lot of just the let them, but the let me's is where we push against that learned helplessness, where we step up and we resolutely say, well, here's what I need, right? It's pretty helpful for reclaiming the dopamine and reclaiming those happiness neurotransmitters. So the last one, as it relates to behaviors, is just and I think it uh, has some relationship here. It's just that victim mentality. Yeah. This is the champion mindset of your worst self. When you decide, trust me, there are real victims out there, but I would say 90% of people that out there right now are victimized by things that are more about learned helplessness than actual victimhood. So you blame everyone and everyone else for your problems. Okay. And not me. There's no ownership, right? I'm just, I'm renting. Everybody else owns the things that aren't going right in the world. Again, backed by research, it shows that people with this external locus of control, believing outside forces control their lives, they report higher levels of stress and lower achievement and higher levels of anxiety and lower performance. So don't ever take on your own responsibilities. Okay. Deflect ownership, right? It's probably your parents' fault. It's probably a role model's fault. It's probably the economy's fault. It's probably the chubby dude in the White House's fault. It's your boss's fault, and it's never your fault. So live that lifestyle to truly just diminish your influence all together. So let me ask you, what important projects have you been procrastinating on for over a month? You've just like slid it aside, like taxes. Yeah, you got to put a deadline there, don't you? What emotions are you actually really avoiding when you procrastinate? And what areas of your life are you currently playing just that victim role? Maybe if I poke something there, um, instead of taking radical responsibility to say, you know what, I still own this part of it, right? If you're 100% just going, not mine, it's them, and your mind again loops some of that stuff, you curse and rehearse everything about being a victim. Where is that for you? And how is that getting in the way or perhaps not modeling the way that your team needs to see, right? The last one, if you had to rate yourself from 1 to 10 on taking immediate action on difficult tasks, what's your honest score? 1 to 10. Taking kissing the ugly frogs first. How do you behave with respect to those hard tasks? Do you push them aside, or do you go, "I'm just gonna I'm just gonna take care of this immediately so I can liberate the rest of my day?" Yeah. There's other things. I mean, there's just social destruction that you can do. I talked about Michael Phelps isolating himself. We've learned a lot of just the maladies of COVID and how we all got isolated, just the bad connections that we can make. Defensiveness is one of the four horsemen. You can look that up. Of of just, again, it's pointing blame on other people, and socially that just gets in the way of us really connecting. There's also just spiritual destruction that can happen when you don't connect your own values just to the overall purpose in life. So you just kind of have this purposelessness. Yeah. Find somebody that like walks to work with their head down and can't wait to run home because they find zero purpose in it. Yeah. That becomes that's like a spiritual issue. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the vocari is a different word for worship. And it just talks about how important it is for us to get up in the morning and have something that has worthy work connected to it. Right? I'm telling you right now, I am not looking forward to retirement in terms of the retirement that I have seen, right? Just observed of majority of people out there. Not everybody, but my my worst envisioned future of retirement is not having worthy work anymore. It scares me. It scares me. It literally it would be boring my life to tears to not wake up and have an actual purpose. And I'm not talking about working the rest of your life. Having something that you are spiritually connected to that is such a value. It could be spending more time with, significant loved ones, or spending more time with friends and recreational or hobby outlets that just haven't had the time for, right? But there's still just that slice of life that puts yourself in a position where life is enhanced by you giving yourself away, right? And we do so much of that during our working years. But then we think retirement, I'm going to like cash it all in and I'm going to sit back and have life feed me now, right? I've seen a lot of unhappy people that become unhealthy because they forget to reinvest back in and to contribute back into community through volunteerism, maybe part-time work, some way to stay. I just finished Arnold Schwarzenegger's book called something about being useful. That's what it's all about, folks. Staying useful, right? Um, Not finding your chair and the clicker and thinking I'm going to live happily ever after. That's I think that's the most that I think that's the saddest thing that, that a happily ever after would look like. So that's just kind of that's my own side deal. Perhaps I've nudged you a little bit, but I, I want you to really visualize this person that we've created. Okay, the worst version of you, right? Physically depleted, emotionally just chaotic, behaviorally just self-sabotaging, socially isolated, and just spiritually empty. The worst version of any human on the planet, right? This person does exist inside all of us. They're waiting for the right circumstances, the right excuses, the right moments of weakness. But here's the thing about hitting the bottom. There's nowhere to go but up. So if you're feeling physically depleted or emotionally chaotic or just self-sabotaging your own behaviors or socially isolated, all of those things, um, Got some good news. A better life, it's within reach, right? And I think that's the real purpose of why I wanted to just come on in this live stream today, because I believe in you as leaders. I believe healthy leaders, first, healthy people become healthy leaders. And I believe that healthy leaders create this thing called healthy teams. I've never seen an unhealthy person become a really good leader. It just doesn't work, right? So that's why I'm just I've got my dukes up here. I'm fighting for you. Okay? Everything I've shared is based on just real science and real research. And but the beautiful thing about understanding destruction, it shows us that the path is there for construction. Okay. Destruction happens accidentally. We it just happens. Okay. Get up in the morning and have no plan, and we're going to move towards comfort, which moves towards just a destructive preferred future. Right. Let's work more intentionally towards construction. Okay. So the blueprint for your worst self is also the inverse blueprint for your best self. Right? You've got influence. You have it in you. The choices that you create, it ripples across your life and your family, your business, your campus. Ultimately, your legacy, boss. These patterns that you establish right now will allow you for decades to be living towards that preferred future. So let me ask you this, and we're going to bring this into a landing. What kind of legacy are you really creating right now? Is it just a season like, oh, I'm really grinding and hustling right now and not getting enough sleep and probably not getting the macros that I need? But take stock. Are you becoming someone worth following? Or are you just like every normal person out there that I bump into at the airport? I don't go to big malls, but where in stadiums where you just see thousands of people, how many of them are living a preferred lifestyle that is about construction, not destruction? So here's my challenge to you. Take one area that we've discussed today, just one, and commit to doing the opposite for the next 7 days. If you recognize yourself in just that physical neglect, commit 7 days, 7+ hours of sleep, right? Or cutting out processed foods altogether. I'm on this thing that says that empty calories. That why would you put empty calories in your body, right? But I didn't start there. Wherever you're at, start with what progress might look like. And then moving your body daily for, let's just say 30 minutes. And you can do that in smaller doses, right? Walk, park far away, take the steps. If emotional chaos just resonated with you, commit to daily, just 10 minutes of meditation, just centering yourself in the morning. Maybe journaling your feelings instead of just suppressing them. All right. And detox from social media. Find a half a day and then move it to a day. And then just say, you know what? 30 minutes of social is all I get per day. Right. If emotional chaos, again, do as much of that detox as you can. If it's behavior related, self sabotaging, if that hit home to you, uh, commit to just tackling your most important task first thing each morning. Kiss the most ugly frogs, kiss them right away, and take responsibility for one area of your life that you've been blaming others for, right? And set one meaningful goal each day. Maybe it's social. Just reach out to an old friend, one person. I got into this thing. I'm not doing it anymore. I'll be honest with you. Where every morning I would just reach out to somebody I hadn't talked to in like months and just send them an encouraging message, right? Evaluate your 5 closest relationships or the people that you spend the most time with, 5 of them. Um, and ask yourself, are they up in my game? Or are they bringing me down, right? And maybe just that spiritual emptiness. If that felt familiar, identify your top 3 values and make one decision that aligns with all of them. Maybe volunteer for a cause that you care about. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for each day. I've got my little planner here. Um, I built this because it's a semester planner, but I built this because it operates in a way that I want it to operate. Okay, so I've got just daily plans here, but at the top, I've got daily inspiration, the things that inspire me, and then end of the day wins and end of the day gratitudes. I had to do this. I had to create some structure in my life because I wasn't doing this enough. So stay a champion. Champions are intentional. That gap between your worst self and your best self, it's smaller than I think you think, right? It's daily choices, it's awareness, it's intentionality, and it is commitment, right? So don't just watch this and nod. Don't just agree with it. Okay. Too many people sit through just information transfer to help you just become who you want to be. And you just go, yes, I agree. Everybody agrees, right? Don't just agree, take action. Okay. Maybe just type I'm in in the comments right now and commit to one area to focus for the next 7 days. And then share which ones you're committing to transform. I would love to see you and coach you on and give you a pep talk and maybe become your punching bag if you're getting frustrated because this is hard. It is hard, but I believe in you. And now it's time to believe in yourself, boss. So again, hey, if you're ready to transform your organization's performance in the DNA level, like at the cellular level, decoding the DNA of winning teams. It's my brand new keynote. It also talks about the science of multiplying more of the same across your system. So this summer, I'm bringing this really powerful keynote experience to cities nationwide, campuses nationwide. You're going to discover that exact blueprint, probably for replicating excellence across your organization, how to identify and nurture those achievement genes. We're going to talk about achievement genes. Yeah, and your team culture and some of the breakthrough formulas that I've acquired over the last 25 years for sustainable results that multiply over time. And who couldn't use some of that, right? You're looking at some of those funding gaps that you have out there and some of the funky politics and the falling trust across organizations. Yeah, we get to reclaim that. We get to get it back. So if you book now, you can receive the we've got an exclusive research white paper that we're going to send prior to, so you got a little pre-read that you can do to decoding the DNA of winning teams. There's also an early bird discount. I think July is the date, so you're going to want to check in real soon. Visit higherperformancegroup.com today before those spots fill up. I'm taking some time off this summer, so if you want this to be in the summer, grab your preferred dates today. Hey, until next time, this is Dr. Joe reminding you that your best self, it's waiting for you on the other side. If you choose it. So peace, friends. I hope you're doing extremely well.